With the information that Carmel and Tony had given us around, what's working and how far we think outside the box. And I've just got that going over in my head. I've just found it a really interesting way of starting to rethink how to build on strengths in a way that is innovative. So I found that tremendously useful. I want to know a couple of things that are around this room, though. We've still got some roving mics out. If you've got something that you're just burning to tell me about what you've learnt, please put up your hand. Otherwise, I'm just going to randomly ask tables. But, I'd rather pick the people who have got something to say first. So anybody want to share what they've learnt this morning, or if there's any crossover between the two groups that was interesting when you've come and joined? Okay, otherwise I'm going to ask table 11 because somebody just glanced at me and then looked away to say, don't look at me. So table 11, if we can have a roving mic to table 11 coming your way. And just give me your name and where you're from so that people know who you are if they want to come and find you.
Thank you so much. I looked away at the wrong time, didn't I? I'm Susie Rodriguero-Smith from the Office for the Public Sector, and I'm part of the organising committee for this forum. We didn't have much of an opportunity, except I don't know this lady's name. Juliana was talking about a session next door that... and I hope the speaker isn't in here, but she was just about to get up and leave because she thought ICT, not really my thing, and then sat down and was totally amazed by what she heard. So I'm going to hand over to Juliana because she's going to recap.
Beautifully done.
Voluntarily. It's the second time I've actually heard a data-type person speak in a Pachakacha presentation, and thank goodness for the pictures because they make it make sense to me. But I was impressed with this speaker again because he spoke about getting people to see how the investment is of value and how the benefits are far-reaching, but he also described the massive challenge that they had in making historical and present data accessible quickly to a variety of users on demand. And I thought, yeah, how'd you do that? And they have, which I think is really impressive. And I'll certainly go back to our ED and sort of say, you really need to talk to this person and see what can we learn from here and how can our team learn. But I think it was the key messages from that to me were you really have to find out, as people have said here in the last bit that I came in, who are the key people that you may be prepared to take some risks with you, that their first reaction isn't necessarily, no, we can't do that, but to learn or to change your habit of mind a little bit to find ways to say, well, maybe we can do that, or yes, we can, how can we? And also, I guess, the backing yourself and the confidence, but by the sound of the presentation, he had a really strong core team that went with him from start to finish, and then they brought in the others externally, other places, to get what they needed. That's not quite what I said here, but it's similar, but it was actually really impressive and very exciting, and well done to the data people and what they get done.
That's fabulous, and thank you for the feedback also, but it just reminds me of some stuff that was reflected here in terms of the tactical action of listening for the right timing and the right person for which to work. One more table before I let you know what's happening. Okay, let's try table... excellent. Table up the back there, table 13. Table 13.
I'm Marianne Galloway from the Environment Protection Authority at table 13, unlucky for some. We were discussing at the table two ideas or discussion points from next door. One was that two of us here were talking about Charles Sturt Council and Mark Hannon's speech. His talk was incredible. It was about bees and how much we need bees, and that bees say, if we die, we're taking you with us, and that they really are our friends, and we need to realise that. And he was saying that there is a culture around us humans thinking that bees are going to kill us, that their sting is so dangerous, and people don't want to get anywhere close to bees because they're going to sting us and probably kill us. And one thing he said was the work that he's been doing in the project. He said that people at council said people will die. And that he had to get over that hump, the cultural hump, and, you know, we're so scared of bees and not realising that bees are so important. And we just love the work that he's done and how he's brought people around their mindset, changed the mindset to love these little creatures. And the parallel with the sa.gov.au, change of email addresses across government. It was a bit like people will die. If you change our email address, our format, it's not going to work. And it won't work for all these reasons. It won't work. And what if, you know, we've got 2 John Smiths and blah, blah, blah. It did work, in my experience anyway. So, and there was also fear that we're going to lose, that each organisation will lose their identity. I think it's a fantastic thing that we have this, and I've heard from industry people also say, oh, you've got the same email address, it's so simple now and it's much shorter. I think that worked too.
Great, thank you. I think that I love the people may die thing, not for that reason, but in any complex project there is that risk that something could really, really go wrong. And I know I've heard Carolyn Curtis talk about this as well, but you know, actually if we don't change, things also go really, really wrong. You know, and that hump to get over is sometimes as much sort of demonstrating that what you're doing now is having deleterious effects, and that you actually can't stay where you are, and you need to move on. So I think that's a really powerful, you know, message in terms of why we might want to make some changes. I think we can squeeze one more table in because I'm just really enjoying the insights that are coming out. We've got a couple of minutes, so one more table from this side of the room, maybe. Table 8. Which is a bit mean because you did ask a question of the panel and now I feel like I'm picking on you, so I'm sorry.
Well, actually, the themes that we actually talked about that were of interest to us was about risk and about acceptance of risk. But also, I guess, this table was Families SA. And so I guess at this point, you know, we are highly visible in the public eye and things, and I guess the comment, I think I might move it on to somebody else, but personally I think, you know, that there are opportunities with us being in the public eye, because it is actually raising the community's awareness of domestic violence, of a whole range of things which have just been under the radar for so long. And so you know, whilst we've got a negative image, I think we've also got opportunities to make that a positive. So, but I think, here we go.
Thank you, Anne. My name's Heidi, and as Anne mentioned, Families SA. One of the things that we were discussing at the table was around the idea that there's been a lot of discussion about strategy and culture, but not how culture can destroy strategy. So, you know, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I think from an agency perspective of being highly scrutinised, particularly in the last 12 months, what tends to develop is an extremely risk-averse workplace, and people feel like they have to do all things. We have to save all of the children, and that's not possible, and it's not a fair expectation. And I think that what we're learning here is about, particularly one of the other sessions was about, concentrate on that thing, find that thing that you do well and do that. And I think that we've got some learnings as an agency to go, okay, what is our core business, and be really clear about what that is, and then not be frightened to do the collaboration with the other agencies and saying, we can't actually save all the children on our own. We need your help and support in doing that, and you have a responsibility to do that.
And yeah, that theme about not being on your own came up as well.
And I might extend it, though, it's not just other agencies, it's also the community.
Yeah.
And I guess that when I say that there are opportunities there, I think it's also about raising the community's awareness of a whole range of issues that impact on our health and well-being. So I think it's about engaging the community as well in that collaborative exercise.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you all for sharing that. There is definitely some themes that came up in that quick, 3 perspectives, as well as I had a quick chat to Jeff before I got back up on stage to see if there were themes that had emerged from next door that might marry with the themes that we had from this session. And it's interesting because yes, there are, and there are also some other things. So I think the richness of what we're discussing today is great. One thing that came through is the idea of the customer or the community or the stakeholders that sit outside the organisation. What are their needs? What is their role in terms of the work that you're doing? What are they demanding of you to do? Taking risks came up, I think, particularly in some of the learnings we've just heard, but also we talked a lot about being risk adverse or not risk adverse and how that culture affects things. Knowing what you're good at, and then the role of, building on that strategy or building on that through strategic entrepreneurship in this room. And then the role of what culture plays around that. So I think that marriage of culture and strategy and thinking about that more deeply is ripe for further discussion. The other things Jeff had mentioned were resilience, and I think certainly for this room next door, you will have been hearing some really personal stories about how that's done. And you'll have a chance after lunch to delve more into organisational resilience. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Clear purpose. We had a great discussion on the panel here about vision and when vision works and what makes vision successful in driving change. Opportunity. We talked about opportunity identification here as well, and also that strategic choice aspect of how do you know when you're following a good opportunity versus an idea that's actually pretty ordinary. Which one do you select? Managing limited resources, and certainly we also had discussions here through the work that Carmel was presenting in terms of how do you resource for something which crosses boundaries, where you've got to negotiate budgets. How can you do that in a way that is better? And collaboration. And we had a lot of discussion around the formal avenues for collaboration and making that a normal way of working, as well as the informal ways of collaborating and waiting for the right moment to emerge. So lots there, I think, for us to take to lunch. So lunch will be until 1 p.m, and then at 1 p.m. you have some choices. So I want to just lay those out before we break. In this room, you'll be with me, and I'll be hosting a fishbowl-style discussion around some of the Splash Adelaide initiatives with Adelaide City Council. And so we'll have members of council, plus also some people from various parts of like East End traders to come and give their perspectives on some of those initiatives, why they worked, when they didn't work, how they felt when they didn't work. So it'll be a really good sort of in-depth case study. In the room next door, if you're at Pechacucha, that same room, you have Jason Goth and Kat Gotch and Kath McEwen talking about organisational resilience in their masterclass. So if that topic's sort of been of interest to you over the last session, I encourage you to go and see that one. In the Premiership Suite, which is down the hallway and then to your right, we have a masterclass with Ryan Hubbard from Taxi, looking at creating the conditions for social innovation. So you have a choice of those 3 things, and then we'll meet here for the final keynote by Dr. Fiona Kerr, and then a panel to wrap us up. So enjoy lunch. Make sure you, I always go to my friend John O'Brien. If you work in clean technology, you'll know John. He leads the Adelaide Clean Tech Network. He always insists, if you turn up to one of those events, that you have to introduce yourself to 3 people that you didn't know previously. And if you don't, he will find you and make sure you have. I can't promise that I'll be able to keep tabs on whether all of you will have met 3 new people, but that is my expectation. By the end of lunch, you will have introduced yourself to 3 new people, found out a little bit about what they're doing and if there's any crossover with your areas. So I encourage you to enjoy lunch, have fun, and we'll see you in the sessions after lunch, either the masterclass or the fishbowl here.